Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, the most valuable podcast for business leaders who need a boost in revenue and business growth. I'm your host, Carrie Curran. And with over 20 years of marketing agency experience driving client and business growth, I now run RBMA Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, where we help businesses like yours effectively scale revenue growth. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn today. In this episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast titled SEO Strategy for Business Leaders, Unlocking the Path to Increased Visibility and Revenue, you'll learn how to transform your brand's digital presence with a sustainable, high-impact approach to SEO and content marketing. I sat down with my former clients and old industry friends, Brent Bouldin and Scott Gardner of New Media Advisors. We discussed the power of a robust SEO and content strategy to future-proof brands and drive sustained revenue growth. With our combined decades of experience in digital marketing, Brent, Scott, and I discuss the evolution of SEO from a tactical tool to a strategic foundation for business success. We discussed best practices for creating a center of excellence, building in-house expertise, and effectively securing executive buy-in to prioritize SEO as a critical revenue driver. For business leaders and marketers alike, this episode reveals actionable strategies for aligning SEO with core business metrics, empowering internal teams, and using data-driven insights to capture more market share and increase visibility. Let's go. So welcome, Scott and Brent. Please introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your background and experience and your agency.
Yeah, my name is Brent Bouldin. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been in the digital marketing space for about the last 20 years. Started my career in management consulting, did a whole lot of traveling, needed to get off the road. And so I took a job at Bank of America where I got my start in digital. Led some large functions there for about 10 years and then went and led marketing and media at Choice Hotels. And my partner, Scott Gardner, and I stepped out of there about 4 years ago to start New Media Advisors.
Yeah, and Gary, hey, Scott Gardner. I've also been in digital with a primary focus in search, almost 24 years now. Did the first 10 years of my career launching startup search agencies, some pretty cool technologies back in the early mid 2000s. Then jumped in-house is where I met Brent, worked at B of A, helped build and run the SEO and content centers of excellence, jumped to Choice Hotels, helped run a lot of digital channels there. And then as Brent mentioned, we launched our firm about 4 years ago.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. I'm very excited to have you on today. I think we've met multiple times over the years, both in your Bank of America capacity and Choice Hotels. So it's really exciting to have you on today. So tell me a bit about more about New Media Advisors and kind of what your strategy is behind that and how you're helping brands today.
Yeah, our model is really meant to be consultative. And, we work directly with in-house brands, in-house teams to really help them understand the criticality of SEO, the modern strategies, and how to integrate SEO functions, content functions throughout the organization. We cater more to the mid-market, large enterprise brands. And, we felt like, Carrie, back in our careers at B of A and Choice Hotels, we had fantastic agency partners and lots of good, internal capabilities, but we found that early on, a lot of that capabilities and know-how stood on the side of the agency. Yeah. So we were big believers in trying to build centers of excellence and bring that know-how in-house and really build people, processes, tools, systems to rebalance the scales a bit. And that's kind of what we bring to bear with clients. We act more like a fractional SEO or content channel leader, and we partner with brands and their in-house teams to accomplish those missions and also help them work more effectively with their agency partners. So our bailiwick really is at the intersection of enterprise with SEO and content.
Excellent. And so go ahead, Brent.
No, I would just add that, the other thing that we sort of always hypothesized when we were in-house was that the opportunity to work with the folks that we met during the pitch process was important to us. We would meet awesome partners and leaders and people that we thought could really change our business and help us. But then after the start of the engagement or shortly thereafter, we would get a fairly junior group of folks coming in to work on the business. So part of what we do is when clients work with us, you're getting to work with very senior leaders that have been in-house for 15 plus years, and you're getting that consistent face. We're not doing that thing where we roll people off constantly and sort of train folks on the client's dime. So I do think that's a differentiator as well.
Yeah, and it's so important today. We've all been in the industry for a really long time and seen SEO kind of be the undervalued channel, and now is a little bit more front of mind. And today it really needs to be that foundation of a lot of the any of the media strategies and plans. And talk about a bit about how you believe that a really solid SEO foundation can help kind of future proof or super proof future proof a brand for that continued success and growth.
Yeah, I mean, I think SEO, to your point, has sort of been traditionally undervalued. I think it's been viewed as more of a sort of technology function that you do as part and parcel of launching a website. You brush it up periodically, and a lot of brands, if they do it at all, they treat it like that. I think what we see is that brands that treat it like a marketing channel that drives top of funnel and mid funnel traffic, that gets you visibility out into Google, which is, we've often called it the world's largest focus group, where people are raising their hands to declare what they're looking for. And it's the stuff that you're trying to sell. So you got to be there. So sort of communicating that in a way that executives can understand it, where they can sort of buy into the vision that, oh, this is actually it's more valuable and there's more to it than perhaps I thought there was. And so we believe in sort of helping folks tell that story internally through good data, good storytelling, letting them see sort of how SEO is a complement to all the other marketing channels that you have. And frankly, if you're not doing SEO, that forces all your marketing channels to work infinitely harder, because somebody's going to come out, type in your brand and your product. You're not there. Your competition that is doing SEO is just going to sit there and pick that traffic off. And so it's really vital, and it's really sort of additive to what you're doing in the other spaces.
Right. And so are you seeing that brands or the executives on the brand side of the marketing teams starting to understand the importance of that? Or are there ways that you need to kind of convince them the importance of making it a core part of the strategy?
I think that you mentioned the evolution of SEO and the awareness of SEO. I think nowadays most executive leaders know the criticality of SEO and search, but I still think prioritization is important. So we found that brands that can have more of a internal evangelist who can really trumpet the value of SEO, the positive impacts on the business, and really the mandate to grow. Backed with data, they can kind of get more buy-in, get more funding, get more prioritization. I think it's critical that you work with that executive to get them to become a spokesperson, then become kind of that executive sponsor who can help you clear the roadblocks you're going to face as an SEO leader, get others on board across departments. So from SEO, we know we need leadership buy-in from UX, content, product, brand, legal, risk, compliance, PR, the whole shebang. Takes a village, right? And so if you have that marketing leader who gets on board with you, goes with you to help get those integrations, that's a big part of it. And that's going to really enable SEO to be far more effective. SEO is not a operate in a silo or let's go do SEO projects. Brands who do it the best, SEO is happening organically, no pun intended, but organically within the company and within the employees and within the teams that are really owning and building digital platforms and digital experiences. So that's why that really kind of that top-down partnership is imperative to make SEO work.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
And I think if I can add one more, Carrie, you asked about kind of getting those folks on board. Traditionally in SEO, we've been prone to share top 10, top 3 rankings and how many impressions you get or how many clicks you get.
Yeah.
But those executives need to understand, how are you driving growth in the business? How are you
Yeah.
supporting our business when we turn paid media off? So we need to understand as an SEO how to communicate in that language. What's the profitability? What are the units driven? What are the application start rates? What are the conversion rates? What's the breakdown in the purchase funnel? As an SEO, you want to be well versed in that conversion path, and that's going to really help win more executives over into the value of search.
Yeah, definitely. I see the importance of tying it to the business metrics, especially when you need the executives to buy in and support the investment, and understand that it's not an overnight success, but as you've mentioned, needs to be part of the foundation and ongoing strategy and initiative. So, how are you making sure that you're aligning the SEO strategies content with those metrics that matter to the business?
I mean, a lot of organizations we work with, they've got lines of business or different business units. So I think that a one-person SEO team, an enterprise, doesn't work. So you
Right.
need to have some SEO support so you can go liaise and have counterparts in a business line or a certain division, and you begin to really be part of the fabric of what they talk about, what their priorities are, the projects they're working on.
Hmm.
Then you flag what projects might have SEO impact. The more you can integrate into what the business is doing and prioritizing, the more SEO work you're going to get through the system. Again, back to the if in the tech room or Agile room, if you're doing an SEO project,
Hmm.
it might fall below the cut line. It could get backlogged over and over. However, if a business partner or business unit's launching a new campaign or building a new product or launching a new capability, and SEO comes along for the ride,
Hmm.
that's how you get more work through the system. And we found that to be really the secret sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say, the metrics sort of flow out of that relationship that Scott talked about, where you're getting ingrained in the work they're doing and you're understanding sort of what metrics they care about. And for
Hmm.
us, that differs client to client, division to division. We want to sort of focus in on the metrics that move the needle in their business. And so, as he mentioned, it's not necessarily top 10 rankings or top three rankings. Those are sort of vanity plays. How much traffic are you driving? How are you getting the right people to the right page through the funnel to the conversion experience? Those are the types of things that our clients care about. And so, we tend to sort of pivot to where they want us to go. They sort of set the target and we skate towards it.
This episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, is brought to you by Kriglu. Want to boost customer acquisition while saving time and money? Meet Kriglu, an AI-powered omnichannel bid management platform designed to optimize your ad spend. Kriglu intelligently adjusts bids across channels, ensuring your ads reach the right audience at the lowest cost. Plus, with its automation, you'll free up valuable time to focus on your business. The result? Efficient, cost-effective growth, all while maximizing your marketing budget. Ready to scale smarter and faster? Visit Kriglu.com, Krigloo.com, and start saving today. Yeah. And so what we've seen over the years with SEO, definitely becoming less of a tactic and more of a strategy. I've also been kind of watching the growth of content strategy, content marketing, which there's a lot of overlap. And to some of the points you made earlier of the SEO needs to be a big part of that content strategy development. What are you going to write? How are you going to write it? How it's going to live on your website? Um, I talk about kind of the center of excellence framework and the importance of that to partner with how you're helping build those centers of excellence and how, Scott, you mentioned it needs to be more than one person. Talk about your process there and why
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are different flavors of this. If you go for like a
Mhm.
formal COE, you're going to need to have headcount, budget, bring the right folks in. A lot of times they're individual factions working on similar projects in
Yeah.
organizations. So, for example, one client has multiple pockets of content writers. They have their own little mini content strategy and they've got their own teams and they're doing great work. once, SEO often acts like the glue.
Yeah.
We're touching all those teams, partnering with all the teams in terms of what people really search for and what they're looking for in the intent behind the search. So you can then inform those content stakeholders of why we're going to write the content and how we meet that customer need. So often as SEO, we're acting as like the customer advocate, but in those little pockets, we're often giving folks, hey, this team's doing it this way, and that team learns from it. When we bring these teams together, that's when the magic kind of happens, and that's when you gain efficiencies. You get folks in the right seats. You don't have redundancy, and you kind of have like this mastermind group of, in this case, content strategists, content writers, content editors, content marketers that understand the business, understand the customer, integrate search, understand distribution across channels and measurement. So that's kind of how we've done it in the past, is we try to stitch teams together, trying to go in and get funding for an entirely new organization and get an HR to go recruit those people. That's a difficult task. So I think it's more working with the current resources and trying to centralize things a bit more.
You mentioned the growth of content. I mean, the truth is, as we know, content is what fuels search. If you don't have content, there's nothing to show up. And if you're not sort of stitching those teams together and using search to inform that content, how are you deciding what to write about? In most cases, the answer to that question is you're writing about what's important to you as the brand. And 9 times out of 10, that is not what's important to the customer. And so having that lens of search, what are people looking for? How does our brand sort of fulfill that need? And then speaking to the role that the brand plays in helping that customer achieve whatever the objective is really the kind of the guiding principle there, because otherwise, you're just sort of guessing. What do we want to say? What do we think they want to hear? That doesn't work.
Yeah. No, and definitely to your point, it goes back to even the basics in SEO of, from a banking perspective, customers are searching for loans versus banks or, their activity is lending. Going back to some of those basic functionalities of content, you need to make sure that it's aligning with your target audience.
For sure.
You talked about your impact framework that has really helped drive success for your clients. Share a bit more of what that entails.
Yeah, so obviously you touched on earlier that SEO does take time to ramp and drive impact. But when Brent and I started the firm, we knew that clients we work with, we need to demonstrate like some quick wins as part of the long-term game. So the impact framework's an acronym. It lets us really come in and over the course of 3 to 6 months can be compressed. We identify opportunities and issues. We make a focus plan with the client. We then prioritize all the work to be done, effort, impact. Then we talk about acting and executing on that prioritization list, creating repeatable models that begin to be ingrained in the culture of the brand. And then last is kind of taking ownership. While we're there to help jumpstart these initiatives, back to our earlier discussion, we do believe brands can take more control and build more institutional know-how, and taking ownership from the brand's perspective, the client's perspective is really important. And so we kind of help facilitate that and empower them to do that.
That hits on one thing that we didn't talk about at the top, Carrie, which is this belief that we have of sort of teaching our partners how to fish a little bit. We both worked with great agencies, but the model at many of those agencies was to sort of stay around as long as possible, land and expand and try to sort of get as much business as possible out of the relationship. I've worked with agencies in some places that have been there upwards of 15 years. And so not if that's the model, that's fine. But we sort of believe in teaching them how to do the work we're doing so that at some point they've got the know-how to take the steering wheel and do it themselves. And we can go and be a resource if they need us on an on-call basis. But it's important that brands know how to do this, and all of the institutional know-how doesn't sit on the partner side.
Right. Well, and I love creating the kind of repeatable framework aspect, because that's really going to be the core of your center of excellence. So very smart recommendation. So can you talk a bit of some of the successes that you've been able to help drive for your clients?
Yeah, we've had a number of successes. One I can highlight, and Scott might be able to highlight a different one, is we work with a regional bank out on the West Coast, multi-state, but not huge. Their business had largely been driven person to person. It was a relationship business, and the world was going online. They wanted to get online, but their site was mainly thin content and syndicated content that they got from large content providers that syndicate to a lot of folks in banking. And we came in and really helped them sort of turn digital into a growth driver for them. We grew their top 20 visibility by 300%. We've doubled their organic traffic by building out those pages, adding additional content, adding thought leadership content that speaks to some of those questions that customers are asking, like we just talked about a moment ago. So that's been a huge success. We're in year 3 with that client, and we've done some institutional know-how transfer, but they've elected to keep us around, and we're happy to keep working with them.
So you're doing something right.
Something good, yes.
That's
Scott,
great.
I mean, I can share one real quick. Early on, this was probably 3.5 years ago, we were fortunate to work with an online mortgage lender. They were more of the upstart, trying to catch up to the likes of a Rocket Mortgage, guaranteed rate. And they competed, of course, with the lending trees and Bankrate NerdWallets of the world. So they spent a lot of money on paid search. This was back when mortgage rates were in the 3s, and a lot of demand coming in, but they knew that SEO was a void. So we kind of came in and helped them build from the ground up, and really worked with agency partners and then their internal, their credit experts, their mortgage experts, to bring their expertise from behind the curtain, if you will, into digital. So we kind of brought forward a lot of spokespeople, brought forward a lot of expertise in thought leadership, in tips and insights, customized calculators, et cetera, play it all out. And they began to see like explosive growth in organic search, which it's hard to, it's easy to say, oh, we 10x their SEO traffic, which we did. We were starting from a fairly low bar. However, they began to really show up and compete for mortgage refinance terms and first-time home buyer terms and fixed loan type keywords. And as the rate environment went the other direction and rates crept up in the 6s and 7s, they heavily, demand dried up. And so they were cutting paid media, cutting agency partners. And we were proud to say we were the last vendor that stuck around because of the value they saw with the content and organic search impact. It was a really big factor for them. Once they turned off all their paid media, they still drove demand and kept the pipeline fairly full in a difficult climate. So that was a good case study for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. I mean, I know that you've been great partners to a lot of companies, and I'm grateful that you're able to carve out time to join us today. So thank you so much for joining the podcast. And I look forward to seeing you guys in person sometime soon.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. We have more valuable content coming up, including guests on marketing and sales operations, influencer marketing, SMX and tech strategies, podcasting, and more. Be sure to subscribe to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, so you don't miss out. To connect with me, Carrie Curran, learn how you can boost your revenue, and to listen to past episodes, visit revenuebasedmarketing.com. I look forward to hearing from you.